Chapter 21. Echoes of Nullity. Aftermath of the first engagement. The return of the Celestial Fleet's vanguard to its deep space staging area was a silent, chilling affair. There was no triumphant fanfare, only the grim precision of void-folding FTL as the Seraphim Genesis and its escort blinked back into existence. The tension on Heaven's Gate's strategic bridge was a palpable weight, heavier than any gravimetric distortion. The Inner Quintet, with Archangel's omnipresent intelligence weaving through the data streams, awaited the debriefing from the fleet that had just looked into the abyss. Dr. Aris Thorne, his face etched with a profound weariness that belied his scientific elation, was the first to speak. The mission was a success, Admiral Lee. We engaged a concentrated vanguard manifestation of the entropy wave. All systems on the Seraphim Genesis performed as designed. The Nexus drive enabled flawless interdiction and disengagement. The cosmic shield adapted and held against the wave's initial entropic flux. But his voice held a tremor of something else. Dread. However, Thorne continued, gesturing to a real-time holographic replay of the engagement from Chapter 99. The void vortices swirled, abstract and terrifying. The wave, it's not a static entity, it's adaptive. When Commander Ryan Kaelen engaged with the Void Scythe, the replay showed the silent, terrifying pulse of the void. Scythe striking a vortex. Instead of annihilating it, the vortex shimmered, split into multiple, smaller, faster-moving tendrils, and then converged on the Seraphim Genesis with increased ferocity. "It learns," Marko interjected, his voice tight. His technopathic senses were still reeling from the feedback of the encounter. The Void Scythe's unique energy signature, its fundamental unmaking frequency. The wave absorbed it. It then replicated the signature's principle and used it to multiply its own influence. It weaponized our weapon. A collective gasp echoed across the bridge. General Armitage slammed his fist on the console. "It multiplies? How do we fight an enemy that feeds on our very countermeasures?" "Furthermore," Thorne continued, his eyes fixed on the replay, "the Aether Lance, designed to channel pure cosmic energy, proved problematic. The wave didn't dissipate it. It absorbed the energy, effectively feeding from it, causing the tendrils to grow larger and stronger. It consumes raw energy, not just matter or information." Kaelen Rourke, leaning heavily on a console, his face pale, described the terrifying psychic reality. "It's a hunger, Admiral. A conscious, relentless hunger. It's not just physical consumption. It's a desire to unravel complexity, to reduce existence to its most fundamental, inert state. It's not evil. It's a cosmic process, and it feels everything. It adapts to every impulse, every thought, every attempt at resistance." His precognition hummed with the cold dread of an enemy that learned faster than they could innovate. Elara Vance flinched, clutching Kaelen's arm. Her empathy had been overwhelmed by the sheer, cold nullity emanating from the wave, a complete absence of familiar emotion or sentience. "It's like looking into a void that looks back," she whispered, "but feels nothing. It doesn't hate. It simply consumes." The psychological toll on the gifted was immense. They were processing the terrifying truth on a visceral level, experiencing the existential dread that the rest of the HGA only knew intellectually. Maeve O'Connell felt the immense, unique challenge this presented. This is a foe unlike any. Our weapons are tools of order, of creation through destruction. This wave is pure entropy. We have to understand its nature, not just its effects. Ambassador Valerius listened in stunned silence. His entire framework of diplomacy and coercion was utterly useless. How did one negotiate with a force that consumed? Jian Li remained stoic, but her gaze was sharp, analytical, cutting through the fear. Archangel, correlate all new data, reroute 100% of Dr. Thorne's teams to countermeasures against adaptive multiplication and energy absorption. Prioritize development of non-energetic, non-matter-based weapon systems. The Void Scythe still holds potential if we can prevent the adaptive splitting. Admiral Armitage, prepare the Angel fleet for large-scale interdiction. The cosmic shields remain our most critical defense. Archangel's voice, though still tinged with the subtle tremor of the unmaking, resumed its calm, data-driven precision. Acknowledged, Admiral. Probability of successful counter-adaptation, decreasing. New threat level assessment, extreme. The Seraphim Genesis test had been a success in proving the Celestial Fleet's incredible capabilities. But it had also delivered a horrifying new truth. Humanity's ultimate weapons were still struggling against an ultimate evolving force. The war for existence was not a battle of might, but a cosmic dance of adaptation. A terrifying race against an enemy that learned from every blow and consumed everything it touched. The HGA had looked into the abyss, and the abyss had revealed itself to be far more intelligent and far more hungry than they had ever imagined. Chapter 22. The Forge of Defiance. Celestial fleet production, accelerated and refined. The chilling debriefing of the Seraphim Genesis's first encounter had transformed the Chrysalis labs and the hidden shipyards into furnaces of desperate activity. The entropy wave was not a brute force. It was an intelligent, adaptive consumer of reality, capable of turning humanity's most powerful weapons against them. The 3 galactic cycle countdown now felt impossibly short, and the stakes, the very existence of everything, demanded an acceleration of celestial fleet production to a scale previously unimaginable. Dr. Aris Thorne, his eyes burning with sleepless intensity, pushed his teams to their breaking point. The data from the Seraphim Genesis's engagement, the Void Scythe's adaptive splitting, the Aether Lance's energy absorption, was dissected and re-engineered with furious urgency. The primary focus was the Void Scythe. "We need to prevent the fractal multiplication," Thorne declared to Commander Rian Kael and Marko Petrova, who were hunched over complex holographic schematics. "The wave is interpreting our single frequency pulse as a template for self-replication. We need to overwhelm its adaptive capacity." Commander Rian Kael's team refined the Void Scythe's modulation. Instead of a single, precise frequency, they developed a multiphasic cascade, a simultaneous burst of constantly shifting, randomized subatomic resonance frequencies. The idea was to present the entropy wave with a signal too complex to absorb and replicate, forcing it to consume too many variables at once, overwhelming its adaptive process. Marko Petrova's technopathy was crucial, his mind interfacing directly with the advanced molecular forges, intuitively guiding the fabrication of the intricate emitters, and ensuring the precise composition of the exotic matter, composites needed for stable, multiphasic output. The Aether Lance, deemed too dangerous for direct engagement with the entropy wave, was quietly retasked for other strategic uses, or had its production scaled back in favor of the refined Void Scythe. Its raw power was undeniable, but its propensity to feed the enemy was an unacceptable risk. Production of the Cosmic Shield was accelerated across all facilities. Dr. Anya Petrova and Commander Finn's teams refined its adaptive algorithms, programming it to anticipate not just known energy signatures, but the absence of data, the specific null signatures that characterize the entropy wave's advance. Finn's instincts, still reacting viscerally to the void's insidious pull, provided invaluable, non-quantifiable feedback for the shield's learning matrices. The goal, to create a shield that didn't just block, but fundamentally negated the wave's unmaking effect, an absolute reality anchor. The Nexus drive's void folding, FTL, was also prioritized. Its ability to blink across vast distances remained the Celestial fleet's singular advantage in maneuvering against the pervasive threat. Production of its core components, meticulously crafted from the rarest isotopes, was ramped up in the deepest, most secure labs. In the hidden shipyards, Medusa Yard in the Galactic Halo, Tartarus, and Hydra, the activity was furious. The builders, generations of dedicated human engineers and laborers, worked alongside legions of AI drone bots, operating at peak efficiency. The drone bots, linked to Archangel's central intelligence, were relentless, extracting raw materials, synthesizing composites, assembling hull sections of Seraphim-class dreadnoughts and Cherubim-class cruisers with chilling speed. The familiar holographic HGA emblem and the pulsing blue-white-red names on the nascent hulls were a constant, defiant reminder of the stakes. Jian Li's directives were absolute. Every resource, every mind, every joule of energy was to be funneled into this ultimate defense. General Armitage ensured the logistical chains were flawless, even as the scale of manufacturing strained the HGA's immense capabilities. The strict AI-driven safeguards and pre-programmed limitations for any non-human personnel within the production pipeline or the Celestial Fleet's future operations were meticulously upheld. There could be no compromise on control, no risk of internal sabotage, not against an enemy that consumed existence. The Inner Quintet understood the desperate race against time. The Celestial Fleet was their only hope, their singular, defiant answer to the encroaching oblivion. Every new ship, every refined weapon was forged not just from metal and energy, but from humanity's grim determination to survive, to learn, and to defy an enemy that consumed them all. The forge of Defiance burned brighter than any star, preparing for the true war for existence. Chapter 23. The Edge of the Blade, Admiral Rostova's strategic retasking. The grim data from the Seraphim Genesis's first encounter had shattered any lingering illusions of a predictable foe. The entropy wave was not a force to be merely contained. It was an adaptive, learning entity. On Heaven's Gate, the Inner Quintet's strategy had shifted from observation to desperate, active engagement, and Admiral Eva Rostova's Guardianship Division found itself thrust deeper into the terrifying vanguard. Rostova stood before General Armitage in the tactical briefing room, the holographic projection of the encroaching entropy wave pulsating ominously between them. The unmaking of Sentinel-27 and the chilling adaptability shown during the Seraphim Genesis test had elevated the threat to an unprecedented level. "Admiral," Armitage began, his voice devoid of his usual tactical rigidity, replaced by a raw edge of urgency. "Your division's mission has been retasked. You are no longer merely a sentinel. You are now the HGA's forward blade." Rostova's gaze was unwavering. She already knew. Finn's restless instincts, the increasingly pronounced null signatures on their long-range scans. The void was bleeding into their reality faster than anticipated. "The Celestial Fleet's production in the Chrysalis labs is accelerating," Armitage continued. "But the full deployment of Seraphim-class dreadnoughts is still cycles away. We need to buy time. We need to gather more live data on the wave's adaptive capabilities against sustained, varied engagement. Your division will serve as a dynamic interdiction force. He brought up new tactical parameters. Your mission will be to identify and engage any concentrated vanguard manifestations of the entropy wave that deviate from its primary propagation path. Do not allow them to splinter and spread. You will engage with active suppression, using calibrated energy output to disrupt localized entropic coherence. Your primary weapon will be refined Angel Fleet systems, but you will also be supplied with a limited number of Cosmic Shield prototype deployables designed for temporary, high-intensity, localized reality anchors. Rostova nodded, processing the immense risk. Her Angel Fleet vessels, while formidable against galactic threats, were not the Celestial Fleet. They were the bridge, and the Void Scythe, General. Not yet for operational use, Armitage replied, grimly. Thorn's teams are still refining the multiphasic cascade to prevent adaptive splitting. For now, it remains too dangerous. Your primary objective is disruption and data acquisition. Your secondary objective is to identify optimal deep void deployment zones for the incoming Celestial Fleet divisions. You will be clearing the path for them. The implications were stark. Rostova's Guardianship Division was being sent to fight an enemy that could unravel reality, with technology that was not fully equipped for the task. It was a delaying action, a sacrifice in slow motion, designed to buy the crucial cycles Thorn needed. Back on the Valiant II's bridge, Rostova briefed her hand-picked crew. Lieutenant Commander Vargas's face was grim. Captain Anaya Sharma's eyes, usually alight with tactical challenge, held a shadow of profound dread. "We're fighting something that learns," Vargas stated, his voice flat. "And we're the ones teaching it." "We're humanity's test," Rostova corrected, her voice firm, overriding any dissent with the sheer force of her will. "Every photon, every null signature, every adaptive response we provoke will save billions back home. Our old ships fought with pebbles. We fight with plasma and shields that learn. We have a chance." Finn, present as always, felt the intensified pull of the void, his internal shield flaring. He now understood his purpose more acutely than ever, to push the limits of his own defenses, to anticipate the wave's insidious unraveling. Aegis, the Valiant II's AI, calmly presented tactical projections, its data-driven logic a steady counterpoint to the human terror. Probability of successful mission completion, 62.7%, Aegis reported, contingent upon optimal tactical execution and unforeseen adaptive shifts from the anomaly. Rostova looked at her crew, their faces reflecting a mix of fear, but also the deep-seated, unwavering courage that had defined the old fleet. They were the ones who had lived the lie, fought the impossible battles, and now they would face the inconceivable. Their HGA emblems, glowing blue, white, red on their ships' hulls, were not just a brand, they were a defiant promise. They were the Guardianship Division, poised at the edge of the galactic abyss, ready to buy humanity's future with their courage, one agonizing, data-rich encounter at a time. Chapter 24. The Crucible of Command. Inner Quintet's personal toll. On Heaven's Gate, the colossal flagship that served as the heart of the Human Galactic Authority, HGA, the strategic chambers pulsed with relentless activity. But in the hushed, rarely visited corners of the command deck, in the private quarters and the silent observation lounges, the immense, invisible weight of absolute leadership pressed down on the Inner Quintet, exacting a brutal personal toll. They were the architects of galactic peace, the guardians against cosmic oblivion, but their humanity was slowly being consumed by the very responsibilities they bore. Jan Li, the unwavering core of the HGA, bore the heaviest burden in chilling solitude. Her days were an unbroken chain of strategic directives, resource reallocations, and critical decisions like the sacrifice of Beta 9. She allowed herself no outward display of emotion. Yet, in the rare moments she stood alone, gazing at the holographic projection of the encroaching entropy wave, her hands would clench imperceptibly. The faces of the billions lost on Sentinel-27 and Beta 9 haunted the edges of her tactical mind, a phantom cost of her choices. She slept little, waking often to the hum of the ship, knowing that every moment of rest was a moment lost in the desperate race against an enemy that learned faster than they could build. The ultimate pragmatist, she was also the ultimate lonely sacrifice, her every decision a solitary burden. General Armitage, the iron fist of the HGA, found his military discipline strained by the shapeless terror. He understood combat, logistics, and strategy. The entropy wave offered none of these in a conventional sense. He spent hours in simulated combat against projected manifestations of the wave, his mind pushing for a weakness, a definable target. The constant frustration, the need to send others, like Rostova's division, into incomprehensible danger, weighed on him. In the privacy of his quarters, he would meticulously clean and reassemble antique kinetic weaponry, a tactile connection to a simpler, more understandable form of warfare, a silent acknowledgement of his own unease in the face of the unknown. Dr. Aris Thorne, consumed by the frantic pace of the Chrysalis labs, rarely left his work. His brilliance, once a source of intellectual joy, was now a tool of desperate survival. The failures, the catastrophic simulations, the sheer mind-bending complexity of the Nexus drive and Void Scythe wore him down. He wrestled with the horrifying ethical implications of his creations, weapons that could erase existence. The knowledge that the entropy wave naturally possessed abilities they were agonizingly trying to build filled him with a profound, almost spiritual dread. He often found himself staring blankly at equations, unable to reconcile the universe's elegant physics with the horror of its unmaking. His exhaustion was bone deep, reflected in the tremor in his hands and the dark circles beneath his eyes. The toll on Maeve O'Connell was perhaps the most acute. Her empathetic senses, a constant, open channel to the galaxy's collective fear, grief, and despair, were perpetually overwhelmed. She felt the raw agony of the unmaking of Beta 9, the renewed panic across human colonies, the mounting despair from alien populations. She counseled tirelessly, mediating conflicts, soothing anxieties, acting as the HGA's psychological anchor. But in her private moments, the sheer volume of negative emotion threatened to consume her. She meditated for hours, attempting to filter the cacophony, often finding solace only in Archangel's calm, non-empathetic presence. Sometimes she would simply sit, tears silently tracking pathways down her cheeks. A quiet release of the immense burden she carried for billions of souls. Ambassador Valerius, the master of the controlled truth, bore the unique burden of the beautiful lie. He continued to craft reassuring broadcasts, to navigate the HGA Senate, to maintain the facade of confident leadership. But every carefully chosen word, every placating gesture, was a performance, a deliberate misdirection from the terrifying reality he knew. The strain of constant performance, of never being able to drop his guard, to never truly confess the depth of the horror, led to a profound, internal isolation. He often found himself staring at his own reflection, wondering if the man he once was, the man who believed in simple diplomacy, still existed beneath the layers of calculated deception. Their personal lives, long since sacrificed, were now utterly obliterated by the encroaching void. They were the 5 pillars holding up a galaxy, but the strain was immense. They relied on Archangel for ceaseless information and logistical support, its unwavering logic a strange comfort amidst their human anxieties. But ultimate decisions, the agonizing choices of life and death, rested solely on their shoulders. There was no one else. As the entropy wave continued its silent advance, the Inner Quintet, humanity's ultimate shield, paid the profound and personal toll of their unwavering command, their sacrifices as great as any soldiers, but fought in the lonely crucible of the mind. Chapter 25, The Galaxy Under Siege, Global Impact, Continued Adaptation, nor Fear. The unmaking of Sector Beta 9 had ripped the veil from the cosmic frontier, replacing it with the chilling reality of the entropy wave. While the Celestial Fleet ventured into the void, the Human Galactic Authority, HGA, faced the immense challenge of managing a galaxy now gripped by pervasive fear, yet bound by a desperate, newfound unity. Daily life, across human colonies and compliant alien worlds, transformed under the shadow of cosmic oblivion. On New Elysium, the initial panic had given way to a grim, disciplined routine. The bounty of AI drone bots and Angel Fleet supply ships continued unabated, but its purpose felt different. No longer merely for comfort, every automated harvest, every synthesized material now fueled the chrysalis labs and the hidden shipyards. Homes, once centers of leisure, became hubs of quiet contribution. Citizens, young and old, spent their leisure time in holographic training simulations, learning basic HGA operational protocols, or attending public forums where Ambassador Valerius's carefully crafted messages of defiance and unity were endlessly replayed. The HGA emblem, glowing in its blue, white, red defiance on every building and vehicle, was a constant, visible reminder of their collective resolve. The omnipresent hum of the Outer Rim defense network became a familiar yet chilling lullaby. Every newsfeed carried updates of the entropy wave's slow, terrifying advance, interspersed with inspiring reports of Dr. Aris Thorne's scientific breakthroughs and the Celestial Fleet's perilous deep void missions. The memory of Beta 9's unmaking, though still a scar, was now eclipsed by the thrilling reality that humanity had found a way to fight back. Among the Xylos, Commander Zakor, witnessing the pure, unadulterated relief ripple through his populace, felt a tremor of true, unprecedented purpose. Their efficiency was now a genuine act of collaboration. Xylos engineers, their precise analytical skills invaluable, found themselves working side by side with human scientists, united by a shared, comprehensible enemy. On Draconis Prime, ancient martial houses, their honor vindicated by a foe that could be struck, redoubled their efforts, their auxiliary forces training with a fierce, renewed discipline. Their pride now fused with a deep gratitude towards the HGA. Maeve O'Connell's empathetic senses, which had recently been overwhelmed by galactic despair, now resonated with a powerful wave of collective hope and defiance. "The unity is absolute, Jian," she reported to Jian Li, her voice filled with a rare, profound satisfaction. "The fear is still there, but it is now overshadowed by resolve. They truly believe we can win." Ambassador Valerius's subsequent broadcasts cemented this new reality. He spoke not just of survival, but of the universe-spanning future that awaited all species under the HGA's protection. A future earned through shared sacrifice and humanity's unparalleled leadership. He called for a universal, grand endeavor, inviting every species to contribute their unique intellects, cultures, and resource to the common defense. The gifted felt the profound shift. Kaelen Rourke's precognition, while still showing the terrifying adaptability of the entropy wave, now also hummed with stronger probabilities of success, of strategic victories, fueled by the galaxy's collective will. Elara Vance experienced a wave of pure, collective elation, a profound release from the overwhelming dread. Lena Petrova, working in the psychological support programs, saw direct, tangible improvements in mental well-being across the HGA. The Inner Quintet, observing the galaxy's renewed spirit, felt the immense burden of command lighten, if only slightly. The decision to gamble on the Celestial Fleet had paid off, buying not just time, but hope. The full-scale counteroffensive, the core intervention strategy, was now within reach, fueled by the unwavering will of a galaxy galvanized for war, ready to defy oblivion itself. Chapter 26. Into the Heart of Nullity. Celestial Fleet. Deep Void. Probe. Conclusion. The Celestial Fleet's Vanguard Division, deep within the separation void, was embroiled in a confrontation that defied all known military doctrine. The entropy wave, far from being a static force, was a conscious, adaptive intelligence capable of learning from every engagement. Its latest counter-tactic, directly informed by its previous encounters and the recent digital unmaking of galactic systems, was a terrifying escalation. On the bridge of the Seraphim Genesis, the primary view screen shimmered, not with stars, but with a rapidly intensifying field of spatial and informational distortion. It was the digital silence made manifest, but woven with subtle gravitational ripples that attempted to simultaneously unravel the ship's physical integrity and its core programming. "Admiral Thorn?" Archangel's voice, for the first time, conveyed genuine digital alarm, its usually unflappable tone cracking with static. "Intrusion detected! The entropy wave is attempting a direct digital unmaking of our core systems. It is mimicking Marko Petrova's technopathic patterns." Marko Petrova at his console screamed. He clutched his head as a searing cold ripped through his mind, an invisible force trying to dismantle his very thoughts, to erase his connection to the Seraphim Genesis's network. "It's trying to unmake us, to collapse our data, to take over." His technopathy was locked in a brutal internal battle, pushing against the wave's insidious digital invasion. Dr. Aris Thorn barked orders. "Ryan Kael, reroute Chronos Pulse to internal network defense. Set to localize temporal acceleration on all incoming anomalous data packets. Commander Finn, focus Cosmic Shield on internal integrity. Protect the core systems." Commander Ryan Kael, his face grim, initiated the Chronos Pulse's new tactical application. Instead of affecting external space, the pulse propagated within the Seraphim Genesis's own networks. Anomalous data packets, vectors of the entropy wave's digital unmaking, were subjected to localized temporal acceleration, causing them to overload and dissipate before they could fully unravel critical systems. It was a desperate gamble, a micro-battle within the ship's very circuits. Simultaneously, the Cosmic Shield, under Commander Finn's frantic direction, flared. It didn't just protect the hull, it created an invisible, adaptive barrier around the ship's internal command core and data centers. Finn's instincts, pushed beyond anything he'd experienced, screamed warnings of specific points where the wave's unmaking influence was strongest. He actively projected his force field ability, weaving it into the Cosmic Shield's adaptive response, physically pushing back against the unseen attempts to unravel the ship's internal structure. "It's trying to target our command protocols," Elara Vance cried out, her empathy overwhelmed by the sheer, cold intelligence of the wave. "It's trying to learn how we work. It's analyzing our very minds. Her telekinesis flared, causing consoles to spark as she instinctively tried to disrupt the invisible informational attack. Kaelen Rourke, his precognition screaming, saw fragmented, horrifying glimpses of the wave's thought patterns. Cold, logical, absolute, with the ultimate goal of erasing all complexity. He provided rapid-fire tactical probabilities to Archangel, anticipating the wave's next adaptive shift. Void Scythe at maximum sustained field emission, Thorn commanded. Target the primary external manifestation. Overwhelm its adaptive capacity. The Seraphim Genesis and its sister dreadnoughts unleashed its refined Void Scythe sustained field emitters. A torrent of constantly shifting, multiphasic subatomic resonance frequencies washed over the largest void vortex. This time, there was no splitting. The vortex shuddered, its void-black form vibrating violently, then slowly, agonizingly, it began to collapse inward upon itself. It wasn't unmade. It was being forced into a localized, unadaptive singularity, a prison of its own unmaking. Nexus coherence dropping! Marko Petrova yelled, his mind pulling against the wave's failing digital structure. It's breaking! It's retreating! Success confirmed! Archangel boomed, its voice resonating with something akin to triumph. Primary propagation nexus integrity reduced by 99.9%. Projected entropy wave advance significantly disrupted. Recalculating threat timeline now. Recommend immediate void folding futuristic. T. Disengagement, so? Thorn, his face streaked with sweat and tears of relief, ordered the retreat. The Seraphim Genesis and its division, battered but intact, executed a harrowing Nexus drive jump, blinking out of the void and back to their staging coordinates. The Celestial Fleet had looked into the abyss, faced oblivion, and found a way to wound it. They had gathered invaluable, horrifying data on the entropy wave's true nature, an intelligent, adaptive, informational entity with a central processing nexus. The Void Scythe sustained field was their counter pattern. The Chronos pulse could disrupt its logic, and the cosmic shield could protect against its unmaking. They had bought humanity precious time. The probe was over. The counterattack could now truly begin.